Great. Hi. So we're
Hello.
recording. Hello. We're recording now and should be capturing on crisp as well for audio. Okay. So now, with that in mind, I want to welcome everybody to today's Career North Star segment. We have with us Bridget and Jessica, and today's topic is going to be about unlocking brilliance in teams, both from a leadership and a team dynamic standpoint. But before we get into that, I wanted to talk with you about why we're here and what we're doing. The reason why we're here today and every day and every week and every month and every year is to help you, the early career professional, that Gen Z professional, that millennial who's been forgotten, left behind, for any of you, unseen, unheard, but you're trying so hard, but you're being held down by a generation of leadership who may not understand you, may not want to understand you, and thinks you're easily replaceable by AI. We're here to change that. We're here to share with you tips, tricks, knowledge, methodology, and ideology to help you in your journey so that you can be successful in whatever your career goals are. We have proof points right here with me today. So first, my name's Al Turano. I'm a longtime executive and entrepreneur at major Fortune 50 companies. I've owned software companies. I've owned healthcare companies. I've owned construction companies. The one common theme that I have is I love to help people. And I think like no other time in my career has it been more important to help provide guidance to the next generation, to help drive them to their success, to their goals, to transform them and to transform business for the better. Now you can say, Al, great, prove it in what you do and what you say. And we're going to do that throughout our time together. But that's why I've brought these two colleagues with me, Bridget and Jessica, who are the proof points of the approach we take that creates success for that next generation of leader, that next generation of great professional to transform you and to transform business. I'll turn it over, Jessica and Bridget, to you now. Please, Bridget, if you would, introduce yourself, and then Jessica, by all means.
Absolutely. Thank you, Al. My name is Bridget Krause. I've been in the professional world now for 4 years. I've absolutely benefited from all of the lessons and best practices and tips and tricks that Al and all of the people who he's found along the way that think like him have taught me. And that's why I'm here today, because I believe in it so much. And I want to share my perspective as a member of Gen Z, but also as a leader who wants to share ways to enable this generation to do the great work we know that it can do. So I'm really happy to be here, and I'll pass it to Jessica.
Thanks, Bridget. My name is Jessica Cacheris, and I have about 2.5 years of professional work experience in consulting and project management. And I'm super excited to share everything that I've learned during those 2.5 years about leadership and kind of the tools that you need to be successful.
Thank you both. Great to have you both with me along the journey here. The dynamic that we're setting up here is one that's inclusive. It's a communal type approach where we want to help you. So please, by all means, we want you to reach out, ask your questions, bring us your problems and your challenges. We've seen them all already. In a lot of times, we can solve them, but solve them together. So it's okay if you're unseen, you're not recognized, you're not being heard, your work's not being valued, and you're getting frustrated. It's okay. We're here to help you. Along the way, we'll provide a series of content that'll provide instruction, that'll provide guidance, that'll provide support on your journey. Today's topic is about unlocking brilliance in teams for not only early career professionals, but also leaders who haven't been in their role perhaps for too long, and also leaders who perhaps have been in their role, but they behave more like managers as opposed to leaders, and unlock value in their teams and their individuals, including early career professionals who have so much to offer. So with that, we have to understand there's a couple things that organizations need to be able to provide. One is guidance. Two is direction. Three is you have to be able to provide a level of space for an early career professional to thrive. So with that, why don't I turn it over to our next generation leaders and talk a little bit about that, if you would.
Yeah, Al, I'd like to start by talking about purposeful leadership. And what that means is, every single one of us, we bring something different to the table. We have different backgrounds, different personalities, different working styles, goals. And I think what a great leader does is they recognize that, and they recognize those strengths about those individuals. And they understand that, you need to bring everyone together. And what really unites a team is that shared purpose, is that common mission, something that, is bigger than any one of the team members. And I think it gives you purpose, it gives you meaning, it makes you feel like your work matters. And that's where great leadership starts, is you have that sort of clear goal. And that's what everyone is working towards on a daily basis. I think that is what really energizes people. It's what gets people excited out of bed in the morning, is understanding that their work matters and you're actually working alongside your team to get something done that's part of something bigger than you. And I think a great example of that, that I've seen is Al reminds me of you, and even the way that you've built our team in the past was we had a blend of senior team members and early career professionals. And before the early career professionals joined, you had to really get, first of all, your leadership on board with that idea and that vision, but then the rest of the senior team members on board as well. So that way, when the early career professionals were brought onto the team, they felt, they wanted to invest their time and their energy into that early talent. And then both groups, it was mutually beneficial for both groups. And they both sort of just poured into each other. So I think that's a really good example of a leader who has that vision and gives everyone a common goal. And that cycle of excellence continues.
I just have a quick comment about that. You two have written a white paper on that very formula, have you not? And it's part of PMI.org, the Project Management Institute, correct?
Yep, it is. Yeah. We can put the link to it in the description.
That's exactly right. It's very, very cool. Very cool. Bridget, one of the key items that an early career professional needs to consider on a daily basis, and their leadership needs to consider on a daily basis, are the roadblocks of an organization, roadblocks of legitimacy, like why should I be listening to you when you're only a few years into your career? Communication. How does one, as an early career professional, without getting too much of an interview going, how much does an early career professional need to remove their own roadblocks to reaching their optimal performance? And then how much is it on the leader to help them remove those roadblocks as well?
Yeah. I think for the individual, and if we're talking about Gen Z members, right, early career professionals, it's on us to remove or try to break down the roadblocks that we are going to face, which like this are so important, to listen to others who are in the same position and learn from their experiences, because we'll have to overcome some stereotypes, right? Some generalizations that are associated with our generation. And I would say how we get past that is you have to deliver consistently. You have to deliver with excellence. And then you sometimes, unfortunately, you have to over deliver, whether that's fair or not. You do, because you have to prove yourself right every day. And by doing that, you'll prove the rest of the team and the organization right. So that's the first part I would say, is that's what's on the individual. But then as a leader, I want to go back to something that Jessica was saying about how the leader, it's their job to get everyone on board, right? And part of getting everyone on board is removing roadblocks for your team so they can go and be great. And those roadblocks might be process related, communication related, or it could be related to some resource struggles that the team is having. And it's the leader's job to not only identify those roadblocks that are in front of them and work with the right people to remove them so then their team can go and be excellent, but also be really forward thinking and lean on their expertise and experience and say, hey, this might come up and I'm going to communicate this with all of the right people, including the people who are going to maybe get there and face that roadblock, and we'll work on it together. Because I think the other part of that is the leader needs to establish trust with their team to not only empower the team to be great, but also, provide a sense of comfort to the team that the leader will handle whatever comes their way, whatever gets in their way, and they'll handle it together to make sure they can do their best work. So I think that's probably what falls on the leader. And it ebbs and flows, right? As the team member develops, they're used to overcoming things on their own, and then they can get more responsibility and handle things and lead things on their own. So it'll change as their progression changes too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the first thing is, regardless of any, stereotype that you might be facing, as someone who's like entering the workforce or is in the beginning stages of their career, so much of that is you're focused on building your brand and your reputation. And so, just to reiterate, I think a huge part of that is that the over delivering, and someone that's known as being reliable, someone that follows through, knows when to ask for help. Over delivering is a huge part of that, building your brand. I think it's normal to feel a little bit apprehensive about doing that, especially because I know for me, early in my career, it's like you're still building that confidence. And so you can feel sort of out of place, or like, hey, maybe I shouldn't be trying to take ownership of this. But I think, big or small, whether it's in your control or not, like, you should do everything in your power to say yes to as much as you can, to work on and get your hands on as much as you can, because ultimately that's how you do build that brand and that trust. And you don't want to like overwhelm yourself to the point where you can't over deliver, like we've talked about. And so you need to find that balance of like taking on a good amount depending on sort of where you're at and whatnot. But yeah, I think, like you said, Al, that proactivity and going out there and just trying to work on as much as you can is so important, and ultimately how you build that reputation and trust with the people around you, so long as you're actually delivering quality, work.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jess. And I think the other piece of that, if you're struggling with that confidence early on in your career, you have to be really honest with yourself on what your goals are and how you're going to get there. Because while it would be fantastic for like your manager to know exactly what your goals are and open all of these doors for you to make sure that you're moving towards your goals, that's not probably going to be the case everywhere you go. And so nobody's going to watch out for these opportunities more than you, and nobody's going to know where you want to go in your career more than you. So I think just always going back to that and remembering that you're in charge of your career growth and your path, it makes it a little easier probably to say, okay, I'm going to go the extra mile, because why wouldn't I? Because I want to make it to this next step in my career. So that's something that you can always go back on, because you're in charge of you at the end of the day, and you're going to benefit from that growth.
And I think too, just to add to that, because I relate to this, even if you're someone that doesn't know exactly what their career goals are, you value growth, just go after it and take on as much as you can and get your hands in as much as you can. Even if you're still trying to figure out and sort through, well, what are my goals? Does this align to it? If you're someone that values growth, it's like, go after it and, take on whatever you can, say yes.
Love that.